Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's show. We are happy you're here. I have the pleasure of introducing tonight's group, so sit tight. The Garifuna Collective is a band that has been creating music for 20 plus years, all the while inspiring Central American people to take pride in their culture and their music. It all started when the founder of this band, Andy Palacio, was living in Belize and paid a visit to Nicaragua. During his time there, he came to the realization that his culture, Garifuna, was slowly dying. Upset, determined to keep it alive, and prevent something like that from happening in Belize, he came back to his country with the desire to start the band you all know and love today. He reached out to Ivan Durant, a music producer, to start creating Garifuna-inspired music together. They wanted to create music that helps fortify their Afro-Indigenous tradition and spread awareness about the Garifuna culture worldwide. The history of the Garifuna culture is one to note and keep in mind while you listen to this band's music. The culture is based on a unique group of people with quite a story. They descended from a group of West African slaves that were traveling from the Caribbean island of St. Vincent to Honduras. The Garifuna people are mixed African and indigenous Kalinganagotano, sorry if I mispronounced that, and are often referred to as Black Cribs. After many years of resisting century-long European colonizing efforts, they were exiled by the Britons in 1796. They later moved to Honduras, where they teamed up with Spain to fight Britain. They eventually immigrated to Belize, where they formed the first community of Dangriga, which is where the largest population of their people reside today. The women were in charge of agricultural work, while the men fished, partook in artisan activities, and traded produce along the Central American coastline. Today, there are 6 remaining communities in Belize, but they have faced large amounts of cultural assimilation. It is a struggle for the communities to maintain themselves due to cultural issues. They have been discriminated against and demonized at times. The people are stereotyped as being too elemental and rural due to their history of enslavement and Euro-centered assimilation, leading to many struggles and social issues that the Garifuna Collective Band touches on in their music, some of which you might hear today. And that music that you will be hearing today is a blend of traditional forms of Garifuna music and contemporary music. The intention is to bring the soul of this music into a modern context. You will hear unique sounds often found in traditional Afro-Indigenous music, which is rooted in the music of their ancestors. They creatively incorporate contemporary elements into their songs, creating and contributing their own original style into the evolution of Garifuna culture. Musically, be prepared to hear a mix of vocals, lead, bass, and rhythm guitar in relationship with their Garifuna percussion section that consists of primero drum, segunda drum, maracas, claves, and turtle shells. The main language in their songs is an endangered language used by their people. It is a blend of indigenous Arawak and Carib with French, English, and Spanish. They included it to bring awareness and expose people to it, allowing some to learn the language through that. Andy Palacio, before his sudden death in 2008, quoted this about the music. For the Garifuna, music and dance are inextricably linked with survival. There is significance in the music you are going to hear today. It is deeply rooted in the Garifuna culture and is heavily influenced by the Carib and African ancestry. It is obvious why this group is trying to keep it alive, and they are able to portray what it means to be Garifuna. There are social issues, as I mentioned earlier, that this band touches on in their music, bringing light to an issue that needs to be addressed. Garifuna is a dying culture in need of being kept alive, and the traction this band is getting is doing just that. The people of the Garifuna culture have had to endure discrimination, poverty, and a lack of education. Their home is on a desired piece of land in the Caribbean and is starting to be overcome by tourism. They fear that they will lose their ancestral lands. The musical group also specifically addresses the social issue of children dying from hunger and the government not doing anything about it in their song, Upao. They claim that leaders are buying ammunition and fighting rather than spending the money on starving children. Most likely, this is them touching on the past and current state of their people. Their anger is expressed in their language, adding a piece of their culture to the song. So, the band has 2 songs that I would like to touch on that capture their feelings on the main social issue I have shared with you. One of their most popular songs, Watina, urges the Garifuna people to come together for the betterment of their people and culture. The word Watina means I called out, which is encouraged for everyone living on these lands to do in order to keep it. It is a familiar song to African albums due to the condition of their culture and the desire to keep it alive. There is a reason for the people living in Belize, Nicaragua, Guatemala, and Honduras to call out and be loud about their culture in order to preserve it. Performing songs such as Watina can keep the Garifuna traditions alive. Secondly, I would like to touch on their song called Black Catbird. It has gained a lot of popularity recently and uses the story of a bird to bring their situation to light. So this song incorporates the sounds of a black catbird intricately into their music. The bird is an endangered species and has a lot of meaning to the Garifuna people. The bird's situation fits hand in hand with the band's theme of cultural extinction and helps them bring awareness to both their culture state and the birds. You just might get to hear one of these songs tonight during the performance. Now, we have a group of 8 artists that are about to come on stage and put on a wonderful show for you. We have Joshua Arana, and he will be leading on the Garifuna drum and providing back vocals. Marcella Aranda will be leading the vocals and playing percussion. Lloyd Augustine will be doing vocals too, as well as electric guitar. Sofia Blanco will be another lead vocalist, and Desiree Diego will be a lead vocalist and playing the percussion. Denmark Flores will be playing a bass Garifuna drum and providing back vocals. Last but not least, Al Avando will be on the bass and backing vocals. So, now, for the time you all have been waiting for, please give a warm welcome to the Garifuna Collective.